Hello again, welcome back to Lost My Thread. I'm Teresa. Today is the final part of the Battle of the Busty Button Ups. So I'm going to talk about how each of these fit, looking at the final look of each shirt, and picking a champion at the very end. If this is your first time watching any of my Battle of the Busty Button Up videos and you want to catch up, I will put a playlist down in the description box and I will put a link up here to some videos if you want to check those out as well. The first video that I made was all about meeting the contestants, so I talked through detail a little bit more about each of these shirts, telling you why I picked them in particular and the fabrics that I'd chosen to pair them with. Round 1 was the next video where I compared the PDF patterns. So I looked at each of them, how easy it is to print them off, piece them together, and the winner of that round was the Mila shirt by Itch to Stitch. The second round was looking at how easy they are to sew, what the instructions are like, and what the final finish is on each of the shirts. And the winner of that round was the Harrison shirt by Cashmerette. So I would say, honestly, it's all to play for today. Any of them could be the final winner. The first thing I think I have to look at for this particular challenge is what the fit is like in the bust area for each of these shirts. To be honest with you, they're all pretty good, which I have to say I was impressed with. I wasn't sure if they were all going to fit pretty well, but overall they don't pull, tug, have any kind of drag lines or creases where there shouldn't be. I was pretty impressed with all of them. The Harrison shirt was fit with princess seams and I feel like it worked really well across the bust. There are also princess seams on the back as well. I feel like overall this was really nicely shaped over the bust area, but I did find that I had a little bit of excess fabric in the upper sort of higher bust area, and it was slightly big or sort of slightly long on my shoulders. I think both of these are related to the same point, which is that this shirt is not actually the right size for me. So in my previous videos I talked about this, but Cashmerette do not currently have my size in their size range. I had to go up one size in that high bust area. So I knew that I was going to find something like that. There's a little bit of excess fabric there. I don't think it's anything overly noticeable. It's just because I am being really nitpicky here, looking with a magnifying glass to see what is exactly right and what isn't. I think in the upper back area, it looks like it fits pretty well, to be honest. I don't think that's particularly tight or anything like that. And I would say that this is the one shirt, because it's got princess seams on the back, doesn't have any kind of pleats or anything there to give a bit of extra movement. I do feel slightly more restricted when I move my arms, sort of stretch my arms forward. It doesn't feel quite as roomy and is a little bit tighter in the upper back area. And that's considering I have sized up one size. I don't usually have to do like a broad back adjustment. That's not a standard adjustment for me, so I wouldn't expect to need to do that for this one. So I think that is really just about the design of this one and what extra shaping they give you in the back for a bit of extra movement. This might be the time to mention, because I don't think I've mentioned previously, I have, since starting these videos and picking these shirts out, found out that Cashmerette are in the process of expanding their size range, and they are going to be going all the way down to US size 0. So I will be right in there, slotting into their sizes. So when the new Cashmerette Harrison shirt comes out, I will tell you, I will absolutely be making that in the size designed for me. The Birdie button-up blouse had a side dart, and I felt like that worked overall. It looks like it hangs really nicely, sits where it's meant to over the bust area. Looking at the upper back, I feel like that fits really nicely. I'm really impressed with how that fits, and I love that pleat just under the back of the neckline to give me that extra movement and ability to move around. So on the whole, I'm really happy with the fit of the sort of top half of that bodice there. And then the Mila shirt by Itch to Stitch, I do feel like this one fits well over the bust. There's a little bit of extra fabric, I would say, in that high bust area, a little bit more than with the previous one, but I think that's just because of the nature of how you have the fullness in this bust. So they have put the gathers just under the front yoke there, and you're gonna have the fullness starting from wherever underneath those gathers are. So that is just the nature of this shirt, and that's the way that it's meant to look. I don't think it looks ill-fitted or anything. It's just comparing them side by side, it might just look like there's a little bit of extra bulk in that specific area, but it does fit really well over the bust. It fits well over my high back area. Again, I do like that this one has got one of those pleats so that I feel like I've got really nice good movement when I need to move my arms and shoulders around, so I'm overall happy with the way this one fits as well. As far as the overall shape and silhouette, these are not all necessarily designed to look the same, and part of what I wanted to look at is which one do I prefer for me on my body and just with my style in general. So the Harrison shirt is the one that probably is more the overall silhouette that I prefer. It is more shaped at the waist and then shapes out at the hip. It's a bit more form-fitting than the other ones, and I feel like as a result I just prefer the way that it looks on me. This is all going to be very much personal preference. I feel like when you look at the front, it fits really beautifully across the waist and the hip. I really like the way those princess seams are able to shape all along that area. If you look at the back though, it does seem to be a little bit of, I would say, like pooling fabric in the small of my back, in the middle of my back. I think that is more me than the pattern. Obviously all of these shirts are going to be made with some type of generic block. I'm not necessarily exactly what they're going to be fitting to. I think for me in particular, I do know when I'm sewing patterns, quite often the distance between my waist, so the narrowest part of my body, compared to my hip is quite a big difference. And also the slope is not very gradual. I have a fairly short area where my waist is at its narrowest point, and then it goes out quite quickly. So I think this one just didn't slope out quickly enough, and I definitely think with a bit of adjustment I could get the fit a little bit better there. I have to mention, my husband was absolutely floored by the fit of this shirt. He really, really liked it. And looking at the back, when I showed him the photos, he said that in real life, it really does not look that dramatic. It's the trick of the light, the way it was photographed. He is saying it definitely looks better in person, but obviously I can't see my back, so I'm just going by what I see in the photos. Again, I don't think it's anything that would put me off wearing the shirt. I don't think anyone would look at it and say, oh, what an oddly fitting shirt. I'm just looking at how I could make this maybe a little bit better in future times that I'm making the shirt. But overall, I think it does fit really nicely overall across the body, and I am really happy with the overall silhouette and look of this one. The Mila shirt is meant to be definitely a looser silhouette, and you can see that when you see the shirt. I feel like you can see a little bit of shaping in the front when you look at the front, because it does go in a bit at the waist and then out at the hip, and that is obvious from the front. So I think from the front direction it looks basically fine. I'm really happy with the way that that looks. But when you look from the back, it's not as easy to see that shaping, and I feel like overall it's a bit more kind of tent-like. There's a lot of bulky excess fabric. I had a feeling that I was kind of swimming in fabric in the back. I mean, it was definitely comfortable to wear. I was able to move around and everything, but I don't particularly like the look as much on me. And again, this is all just a little bit of personal preference, but I feel like that one was just a little bit too full in the back area, and I probably could have done with taking quite a bit out of that in maybe the back side seams, and I might have been a little bit happier with the fit there. I will say with this shirt as well though, because it doesn't have a full button placket and it stops about 3/4 of the way down, if you're going to be able to pull this shirt off over your head, you probably wouldn't want to narrow that down too much. I think if I was going to want a sort of slimmer fit in the back, I'd probably have to extend that to a full button placket. Otherwise it would possibly be a little bit of a nightmare to get on and off as easily with a woven fabric. And I think the Birdie button-up blouse is kind of somewhere in the middle. So it is definitely a more looser fitting shirt. That is the design of it. From the front, it is a little bit looser, possibly a little bit less shaped than the previous, but I do feel like you can still see a little bit of my figure in the front there. I do remember when I was cutting this one out, when I was looking at the sort of finished garment measurements, the idea is that the bust and the waist are meant to be the same size. So it's not meant to really slim in at the waist there, and I feel like I can tell the difference. And I do prefer, just for my own shape, for things to go in a little bit more at the waist. Otherwise it can feel a bit shapeless. Looking from the back, it is less oversized than the Mila shirt, but it is still a bit more oversized than I would probably prefer just for a fitted shirt. Of course, we have all different types of shirts for different functions, but for what I was looking for in this one, it is a little bit more oversized. I think both this one and the Mila though, if I made them in a drapier fabric, they would obviously sort of fall down against my curves a little bit more, and I might be overall a bit happier with the silhouette that you get in the end. But I wanted to make these all with cotton poplins to be able to compare like for like. And I still will definitely wear these. I'm not unhappy to the point where I think that they're ill-fitted, but it's just a different shape than what I would prefer for my body. I am now going to get into some of the more specific design details and what I like, starting kind of top moving down. The collars on all of them I think look really good. I think they're a decent length from the top buttons. Some of those I personally chose to adjust, and you can see that in the previous video. But I feel like they all look good. The proportions and things look good on me. They're all pretty similar, to be honest. I'm not going to get into huge detail because there's not a lot to pick apart between them, but I was happy with how all the collars turned out for me. As far as pockets, they all had slightly different design elements there. I decided to go with what each of the photographs from the pattern showed you. Obviously, I'm aware that you can add more pockets, remove pockets, change shapes of pockets and all that, but I wanted to try and go with what they are initially intending for you to do. The Harrison shirt didn't have any pockets, and there aren't any optional add-on pockets in the instructions. Obviously, you can take a pocket from another shirt pattern and put that on, but as it is, it's designed without the pockets. I personally do like a pocket on a dress shirt. I feel like it adds a little extra element. It breaks up the front of the shirt a little bit, so I do prefer the other ones that have pockets, but this one didn't have it in the original design. The Mila shirt is my favorite pocket, I think, of the ones that are available. It has that little point at the bottom of the pocket, which I think is really cute. This one had just one pocket initially, but it did tell you, obviously, you could make another one as well. I quite like the look of the single pocket. I think it's kind of a little bit interesting and different to have it asymmetrical, and I feel like it really suits the style of this shirt. So this is one that I will definitely possibly use on other shirts in the future because I like the way that it turned out. I am aware that it is pretty difficult to see the pocket detail on my Birdie button-up blouse, and that's just because of the nature of the fabric. I did not pattern match because it was a very busy, small-scale floral print, but even then, it's really difficult to actually spot where those pockets are. They are a square shape or rectangular shape pocket, and they look fine, and I think they probably do suit the style of this shirt in particular, but I do prefer the little pointy ones on the Mila shirt. When we're looking at the cuffs, the Mila shirt had a narrower or a little shorter cuff, and I didn't like the look of that one as much. It's fine and it looks neat when I'm wearing it, but just comparing them side by side. The Harrison shirt is probably the one that looks the most structured, perhaps. In general, that shirt I feel is a little bit more formal, a little bit more tailored, a little bit more crisp, I guess, and that's not necessarily my preferred look. I do like to mix kind of dressy and casual. I don't want to be too far in one direction, and I feel like this cuff looked very proper and very neat, but maybe a little bit less my style somehow. The Birdie button-up blouse had my favorite cuff. It had two buttons on there, which I thought was kind of a cute little extra detail. Obviously, I chose to use some pretty big buttons, which matched the rest of the shirt, and they're cute buttons, so I'm sure that definitely helps that it's a cute button, making the shirt look a little bit better. But I just really liked the proportions of this cuff, the size of it with the two buttons there, and that was overall, I think, my favorite of the three. If we're looking at the overall sleeves, my favorite sleeve is probably going to have to be the Mila shirt, just because it has that extra sleeve tab option. I love these sleeve tabs. I love that you can roll the sleeve up and button it in place to know that it's going to stay just where you want it. I think it's a cute look. Even if you're not doing that and you're unrolling the shirt, you have a little button on the side of the sleeve, which I think actually looks pretty cute. I mean, you know what it's there for, and I feel like that is just such a great extra feature that I'm really excited about. Looking at the length of these shirts, I think from the back they all look like a pretty similar length, but the Birdie button-up blouse from the front is quite significantly shorter. Now, if you remember, I did actually shorten this shirt. It is meant to be designed for somebody who's 5'9", and I am 5'6", so I removed 3 inches from the middle of about where the waist would have been, and I feel like I really shouldn't have shortened it. I was going by the fact that I'm 3 inches shorter. I didn't want it to be massive and oversized, but I feel like if you're 5'9", you might actually want to extend the length of this one, because to me, this looks short on my frame, and I imagine it would be similar if you are taller. It's going to end up looking short on you if you keep it with the length that it's intended. Now, I had not realized that this shirt is actually meant to be a bit shorter in the front than it is in the back. When I looked back at the website, looked through at the description of this shirt, there's nothing that tells you that it's meant to be shorter in the front, and when you look at all the images of pictures from their photo shoots, you can't really see that. There's nothing that shows it from the side that shows that difference in the length. A lot of the shirts are tucked in the photo shoot, so that's not really helping either. When I looked at the Instagram hashtag, similarly, everyone's either got it tucked in or they're shooting more from the front and back, but you don't really get that side angle. So I really wouldn't have had much of a way to realize this. When you look at the line drawing, if I know that, now that I do, I can see that the back looks a little bit longer than the front. It's not anything I think significant or dramatic, and I think the fact that I shortened it probably made it more obvious. If you have a longer shirt, it's going to be a smaller proportion of how much shorter that front is to the back visually. So I think I didn't help myself by shortening it and making that front look even more exaggerated. I think that is a fun style, and I have seen other shirts that look like this. I'm thinking of like the Cali shirt from Closet Core Patterns, but this wasn't necessarily the look that I was going for. And for me, I'm probably gonna have to look through what I've got that I compare it with that's got more of a high waist, which is not a lot of the items of clothing that I already own. So just a little bit less wearable for me in the end, the way that I've cropped it. Now I'm sure you will have picked up that there were elements that I liked from each of these shirts. All of them have bits that are not 100% my preference. So what I thought would be fun would be to think about how I could pair different elements of these shirts to put together my ideal dress shirt, which is kind of the style that I was going for here. And I will be making that one at some point. So watch this space. Watch me over on Instagram is probably where you're going to be seeing it. I'm at Lost My Thread over there as well. But I would say that the overall fit and shape, I like the Harrison shirt the best, so I'd probably go with that one, but wait until they've got it in my size. Once I've got the size 10, which is where I would fit on their size chart, I am definitely going to be making that. But the minor adjustments that I will make is I think I would actually prefer to use the cuff from the Birdie button-up blouse with the 2 buttons, so I think I could easily swap those over. Obviously just make sure that they're going to be the right width for the sleeve, but I feel like I could put that onto this shirt and just kind of up at the extra level with how I'm gonna like it. And then I will definitely want to add pockets, and I would add the pocket from the Mila shirt because I love the shape of that pocket. I think that would look super cute on this shirt. And of course, I would also be adding those sleeve tabs to give me the ability to roll that sleeve up to be able to make it a bit more versatile and keep it in place where I'm gonna want it to be. I had also considered whether any of these shirts would be good for more of like an overshirt, thinking like a plaid flannel shirt, something you could just throw on. You could definitely button up, but you could also wear a bit more open. And I feel like the Harrison shirt with the princess seams wouldn't be the most appropriate for that kind of thing. And the one that I really think would work well for this one is the Birdie button-up blouse. So I will absolutely plan to make one of those. I might again choose to use the Mila shirt pocket just because I really do like that pocket, and I'm probably gonna throw in the sleeve tabs because why not put on sleeve tabs if you can? Give yourself the extra option to roll those sleeves up. So looking at the overall fit, shape, silhouette, how this shirt looks on my body, the winner of this round is also, I think, got to be the winner of the whole competition altogether, and it is the Harrison shirt by Cashmerette. I know that this was a firm favorite from a lot of people. I had a few people suggesting that was the one that they suspected was probably going to fit the best, was going to look the best, and they weren't wrong. It's a great shirt. It's really suited well for curves. I love the way that it looks overall. I love the finish, the polish. It felt really satisfying to put together. It came together really easily. Loved piecing together their PDF, loved their instructions, and loved the overall finished shirt. So well done, Cashmerette. You make one heck of a dress shirt. Thank you so much for watching right till the end. I have really enjoyed this whole series, The Battle of the Busty Button Ups, and I hope you have enjoyed watching it too. I am planning to do more of the Clash of the Patterns series where I'll be taking 3 different sewing patterns for the same type of garment and comparing them side by side, but they're not necessarily going to be shirts, they're not necessarily going to be made for a curvier shape, but I do want to think about what I could use for that type of challenge. If you've got suggestions, if you've got ideas of things that you'd like to see me make 3 different versions of, let me know in the comments down below. I will also be putting a poll over on Instagram to give myself ideas of what I can do for this in the future. I do have a few ideas, but I'd be curious to see if anyone else has other ideas as well. If you enjoyed my video, if you want to see more of the Clash of the Patterns or more of my videos in general, please do subscribe. If you enjoyed today's video, I really do appreciate getting those likes. It does help other people to find my channel as well. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.